Here's what you missed on the Mike Brown Morning Show.
Good morning. This is another day that the Lord has made. And just like all of the other days, we're going to rejoice and be glad in it. This is your host of the Mike Brown Morning Show, Mike Brown. I'm happy to be here this morning. I often say God didn't have to do anything for us, but he did everything. And so for that, we're grateful. I hope you've had an opportunity to tell him thank you this morning for just the breath that we're able to breathe. Like, that's so precious, man. So precious. Never take it for granted. Never take it lightly. And you know what I really want to kind of hone in on today is don't give up. Whatever you're doing, whatever your dreams, your goals, your vision, don't give up. You can do it. If you keep God first, he won't let you fail. You know, I was playing, those that know me, and if you don't know me, I'm getting ready to tell you something about me. I love to play Monopoly. And so Monopoly has come out with a new, kind of like a 3D version of the game in the App Store. Now, it's the same Monopoly. It's just a little more interesting because it's 3D. But I was playing and I was like, how, like the way my game was set up at the time, I was like, man, it's no way I can lose this game. Now, there had been a time the other day, like 2 days ago, that I was playing the same game. And in my mind, I was like, there's no way that I could lose this game. Now, it's a few lessons in this, but I only want to go one way with it right now. So the second time I played, I actually did win the game. The first time I played and I said in my mind, I said there's no way I could lose. I did lose. But here's the lesson that I got out of that. When I was getting ready to win the second time, I had in my mind that I lost the last time. But I kind of knew that I was going to win the second time around. But here's the point. When I say that there's no way that I'm going to lose, when it comes to my power and my strength, there's always a chance that I could lose. But when I relinquish everything about me and everything that I want to do and all my plans and goals and visions, when I relinquish those over to God, guess what? There is really no way that I can lose. And so I want you to say that today. I want you to carry that throughout the day. I want you to carry that throughout the very near future. Maybe I want you to carry it out throughout life, but I want this to be a focus, like for your next couple of weeks or your next couple of months. Like, you really got to say it like, there is no way I can lose. Just practice saying it right now. I'll wait while you say it to yourself. There's no way that I can lose because God has got me, period, point blank. Nothing nobody can say about it. You can't, what you going to do with God? There was an old song back in the day that said, your arms are too short to box with God. It's like once God hooks you up, once he set the plan in place, it's nothing nobody can do. And so there is no way I'm going to lose. If I seek him first, if I put him first, if everything I do is pointed towards him, and I make sure that I do my part, that for him to get glory out of me, there's no way I'm going to lose. If I know that I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me, Christ strengthens me, there is no way I'm going to lose. So here's the lesson. Move yourself out of the way. Take yourself out of the equation. put God in it and move out of the way, because guess what? He's going to fight on your behalf. And when he's fighting on your behalf, there is no way you'll lose. We got a good show today. We just going to hang out today. We're going to talk about some stuff in the news. We're going to keep it light. We're going to laugh a little more today than we usually do. And stay tuned. We'll be back. It's the Mike Brown Morning Show. Good morning.
Wake up. Right here.
The Mike Brown Morning Show.
Wake up, baby, don't you wake up. Hit it in the morning.
Heard weekdays 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Right here on the Urban Uplift.
The Urban Uplift, positively positive. Hey. News, sports, talk, music, live entertainment.
Of course, there was everybody's uncle, everybody's cousin, everybody's nephew, Kirk Franklin. You know, he says that I'm your nephew, I'm your cousin, I'm your uncle, I'm your neighbor. Anyways, that's funny to me. It don't have to be funny to you. But Kirk Franklin, man, he, for the last 30 years or almost 30 years, he has been almost the face of gospel music. You ever thought about like how much pressure that could potentially be? Now, I haven't had that conversation with Kirk, so I don't know like firsthand, but I would imagine that at some point, if at not right now, that's a lot of pressure to be on a person, to be like the face of something. It's interesting. But just think about it though. Like all the way from the early 90s all the way up to now, like gospel music can't come up without Kirk Franklin being like talked about. And then what's so sweet about it? Well, first of all, I'm saying all of this because shout out to Kirk, because happy birthday. Yesterday was his birthday. So happy birthday to Kirk. And then him and Ty Tribbett, they happen to share birthdays. So from the Mike Brown Morning Show and all of our listeners and the Urban Uplift, happy birthday. Now, get back to what I was saying. What was so sweet about Kirk is, even though, like, remember he told us at the beginning of the stump, he was like, for those of you that thought that gospel music has gone too far, I got news for you. You ain't heard nothing yet. That was like a little far for some people, and it was a place that gospel music in that time, like during that time, hadn't really focused on. Like during the 90s, like the 80s, late 80s and 90s, gospel music had a certain sound, especially popular like church gospel music. It had a sound. And at first, Kirk, before he went like crossover and like global, I should say, like he had a church sound, right? So what was so dope about Kirk though is that although he had the sound that we were familiar with, he could also do all types of genres and make them relevant. And I think that's why people were so mad, like they didn't like him like that, because it was good. It wasn't like he tried his hand at something and it was like, that's not really hot. No, that song was sweet. Like whatever he did was sweet. If it was hip hop, if it was fusion, rock, funk. But then he always gave you a beautiful ballad, like a beautiful just worship song. One that immediately comes to mind is, it might not even be popular or like the most famous one, but that Jesus, you're my everything. The cross you did that just for me. So whatever you take me through, I promise you I'll spend my always with you. That song right there, play that song and see if you won't be somewhere crying and thanking Jesus. So that's what's dope about Kirk. I almost said Kobe. I think that's because a couple of days ago it was the anniversary of his death. Remember to keep those Bryants in your prayers, man. But that was what was so sweet about Kirk Franklin. Now, before we move on, I want to talk to you all about the word keeps coming in my mind, reset or reboot. A couple of weeks ago, I did a show, and the show was live. We were live on the air, and that particular morning I did a video with the show. And those of you that are listeners and you listen often, you remember that if you were listening live, the audio was fine. Everything came through clear. But you also know that most times I post on YouTube, sometimes Instagram, sometimes Facebook. I posted this show on YouTube, and the audio was kind of sketchy. Like, it was good in some points, but then it would get kind of like, staticky and lagging, things of that nature. And I think that was like January the 4th. I think that was our first show back for the new year. Well, so what happened was the audio that was coming from the video, we thought that audio was going to translate for video. But what happened was we missed, in our haste, we missed a component of that video recording to where when we uploaded that video, there was no sound. So what we had to do was go back to the application that we use to do live shows. It has a recording feature built in to that software. So although we never use it, as a matter of fact, we erase it every day, as a matter of fact, because there's no need for us to keep that space, because we always have the audio on secondary devices. Well, this particular day, by the grace of God, really, we were able to, before we posted or before we deleted the audio that day, we discovered that the audio on the video was no good. So it just so happened that audio was available on the software. Now, here was the problem, and we discovered this later on. The audio wasn't clear because the system had not been rebooted. Now, so let me explain. When we leave the studio, we let the computers go into auto shutdown mode. If that's not the technical term, I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. That means that when you're done working on your computer, you know that your computer is going to go to sleep after a while, right? And so that's usually what we do. We know that our computer's in sleep mode, so we come in the next day, we go to work. We leave, computer sleep mode. Nobody has access to the office. Nobody's going to get in. No work's going to be done on the computer. So we think it's all good. But let me tell you, after a series or a series of days and weeks of doing that, you're going to have to reset. You're going to have to reboot your system. So I discovered this by just trying to figure out, like, why didn't that audio come through clear on the recording? So what happened was it manifested a couple of days later. Even before I had reset or reboot, I noticed that the live show on this software started sounding just like that recording. So I immediately stopped. And if you were listening, you might remember like some other programming coming on, because we had to shut down the server, and we used 2 computers while we're live. We completely shut down the computers, and we restarted the computers. Right? We turned them all the way off and we restarted them. Don't you know that once we did that, the audio was crystal clear? So I went all the way around the block. I said all of that to say this. In our lives, we are so used to doing everything that we have to do on a daily basis. And we give all that we have for as much of the day as we can. And then we go to sleep at night. Then we wake up and we do that all over again. And then we go to sleep at night. And then some people are on alternate schedules where they'll do all they can during the day or the evening hours or at night. And then they'll go to sleep during the day. But at some point, if you keep doing that, there's going to be some static in your life. There's going to be some fogginess, some unclear things that are happening in your life. And what that's going to cause to happen in your life are things that really did not have to happen. And a lot of those things are not going to be favorable things. A lot of those things are going to be things that could have been avoided. So what do you have to do in order to fix that? You have to do what we had to do. We had to completely turn the computers off before we turned them back on to get the optimal results that we needed. So what does that mean? How does that translate to our lives? Well, and I'm discovering this, and I thank God for the revelation. My friends, brothers and sisters, boys and girls, sometimes we have to turn off. What does that mean? And this is the revelation that I got, and this is how I'm saying what shut down means, what turn off means. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to separate yourself or isolate yourself. It doesn't necessarily mean that. Now that's not a bad idea, but then sometimes you're just not in a position or situation to do that. So let me give you some ways to turn off, shut down. If you don't have days off work, take 2 days off work. Now, most people have days off at work. If you do have days off at work, take complete advantage of those days and shut everything else down for those 2 days that you don't have to go to work. Don't do nothing and don't go nowhere. That might be wrong English, but that's how I want to say it. Don't do nothing. Don't go nowhere. And this is how I really define it. You need to go to sleep and wake up cycles of not having to go anywhere or not having to do anything. I'm going to say that again so it can sink in for you. You need 2 complete wake up cycles. Go to sleep and wake up cycles, meaning that it's Thursday night and I go to sleep and I wake up Friday morning and I don't have anything that I have to be committed to. And then it's Friday night and I wake up, I go to sleep Friday night and I wake up Saturday morning and I don't have anything that I have to be committed to. That's what it's going to take, folks. And especially in this climate that we're living in now, how we're forced to not move the way that we used to move. Now, it was different. It was different when things were what we used to call normal, because although we were as busy or maybe even more busy in some cases than we are now, that busyness lended itself to different outlets. It lended itself to a certain freedom that even if you couldn't reboot or reset, you didn't have to be feel like you were going around in circles, or you didn't have to feel like you were that little hamster on that wheel just going, doing the same thing over and over and over again. A lot of time, and so now what's become commonplace for the last 8 or 9 months is we're spinning our wheels. If you're working from home, all you're doing every day is getting up, going to the computer, getting off the computer, going to the television. Like, your mind does not have a break. If you have to go to a physical job, all you're doing is getting up, going to work, coming home, going to sleep, getting up, going to work, coming home, going to sleep. It's no switch up. You can't go and relax your mind. You know, some people may have in times past gone to a movie. Some people may have, and some of these things are open back up, but some people for peace of mind may have gone bowling. Some people may have gone roller skating. Some people may have gone to the gun range. But what I'm saying is, for months, we have been stationary. And so although resetting and rebooting is necessary under normal circumstances, it's definitely necessary now. So for your physical health and for your mental health, I don't care who it offends. Because if you're not here, then you wouldn't even be able to offend. We have to put ourselves first. It's kind of like this. Remember when we were allowed to fly? Well, you're allowed to fly now, but when flying was commonplace, whenever the flight attendants would get to the part of their presentation that says there are, I don't even remember what the thing's called, but you know, the things that come out of the sky, out of the roof of the plane, and you're supposed to oxygen mask. In case of emergency, you grab the oxygen mask, and they always say, before you help someone else, make sure you put your oxygen mask on first. So that means that if you're in a middle seat or wherever you're sitting, but let's just say you're in the middle seat, because that plays more into what we're talking about anyway, because you really always got to be there for somebody. You always have to do something for somebody. Always have to be something for somebody. So let's use the middle seat, for example. If there's an emergency on the plane and that circumstance requires those oxygen masks, they are suggesting that you, although you can help 2 people, they're suggesting that you put yours on first before you help anybody. Why is that important? Why are they suggesting that you do that? That's because if you're trying to help other people, you can't breathe in the process. You have to be able to breathe first before you can ensure that anybody else can breathe. So now let's go back to life. Let's go back to real life. You have to reset. You have to reboot. It may look different for different people, but you can't allow this circle of doing the same thing over and over again to allow you to be staticky, foggy, disgruntled. It's gonna start manifesting. It's either gonna manifest in your in how you feel, or it's gonna manifest in your mind. So I want you listening to me right now to unapologetically unplug. Yep. Unplug. And it's not about being selfish, but you have to be. Ooh, that's tough. Nobody want to hear that, because people always take that word and demonize that word. But if I don't take care of myself, I can't take care of you. Oh my goodness. So whoever you are, because I feel like I'm talking to somebody, unplug and do it unapologetically. And when you plug back up, you come back with all fire and all just ready to work, ready to give, ready to help, because now you can breathe. And I'm telling you, that's what's necessary. You know you. And I always tell you that God, he's so amazing. Like he allows our bodies to speak to us. And if we listen intensively enough, we know exactly what we need to do. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. All right, I'll be back. We're going to get into some news and some goings-ons in the world. And we're going to come with the time to laugh. So don't go anywhere. You know what it is. It's the Mike Brown Morning Show. Good morning. I'm back, and good morning. If you're joining us for the first time this morning, welcome to the new way, the best way to start your day. It's the Mike Brown Morning Show right here on the Urban Uplift. You made a great decision. Congratulations. You did make a great decision to hang out with us this morning. Hey, my mama always told me it's a poor dog that don't wag his own tail. In other words, if you doing something, you got something going on, you need to be the first person to be excited about it. So we're excited about the Mike Brown Morning Show and what we got going on here. This is random, but John Hannity, I think his first name is Hannity. I think his first name is John, but he get on my nerves. That's the Fox News commentator. He is so irritating, and he's like toxic. Like if you ever watch Fox, if you haven't watched Fox and you don't know who he is, just go over there and watch a clip, and so you can see what I'm talking about. And then you'll be like, I can't stand him either. Just report the news and stop trying to get out your feelings. You know what? He's almost like a Don Lemon is to CNN. Like, stop crying. Report the news and get out of your feelings. Now, some of y'all might be saying, how can you say that and and you say what you say every day about the news? Well, and you may have a point, but here's my rationale. At least my fight is, I'm going to say, for our children and what the world is going to look like for them. That's up to us. And if we don't fix some of this stuff, we don't care about our kids. That's what it translates over to me. I actually, and I'm not going to spend much time on this today, but I actually heard somebody say the other day, like they were asked a direct question about the Democratic agenda as it relates to the LGBTQ2T plus community. And this is a so-called Christian. They had the audacity to say, well, what Biden's trying to do is include everybody. And I'm happy that, as a woman, I'm happy that everybody can be included. Now, do you see what that person just did? Not only are they compliant to immorality or complicit to immorality, but now they've diminished the fact that they are a woman, as if they can choose to be a woman or not. You're supposed to be proud to be something that's natural, that's innate, something that you can't change. And you're supposed to stand on that thing to come against everything that's not real, everything that's fake and delusional. But instead, you diminish your position and bundle yourself up with everybody else. That's foolishness. And that's just that's the devil's plan. Church, wake up. Wake up. That's his plan. And slowly but surely, we're falling into it. All right, that's all for that today. I'm not going to get off on that today. I'm sure there are plenty days to come that you're going to hear me talk about that. Now, to put a bow on what it is I said about us needing to reset and reboot, it's important that we do that. But don't forget about our children. Let's think about it for a minute. Our children went from having a routine of waking up in the morning, getting dressed, having breakfast, going to school, socializing, learning something in most cases, being active physically, and then meeting you at the end of the day, happy to see you, happy to come home and do their after school, whatever it is they did at home, then to do their homework and have their dinner and go to sleep and do it all over again the next day. That was a sense of anticipation. And I'm here to tell you, no matter how much a kid said they didn't want to go to school, it was something about going to school that they really did enjoy. They may not have liked waking up for school, but I guarantee you once they got there, they were happy to see their friends. They were happy to be able to play. And in some cases, they were happy to be able to learn that next subject that they was waiting on. And so all of that's been taken away. Now they have to look at a screen all day. By force and by choice, because they already looking at the screens to do everything else they want to do, the video games and the little videos and stuff they watch, which please monitor them. And I got to say, my wife does a great job of monitoring what my son watches. We got to monitor what our kids are watching because this is how the devil is creeping in. It's another way that he's creeping in. Remember the day before yesterday, I read the article about the girl that was on Dan's Moms. Now she gay. You know how many kids watched her? But anyway, I said I wasn't going there. I'm saying all this to say we have to unplug our kids too. We have to find a way for our children to reset as well. One way I found is, although my son in this season, he feels boxed in, so that makes him extra hype. So one way to address that is I just give him a little more freedom than he ordinarily would have. You know, although you still got to obey, you still have to listen, you still have to, I mean, there are rules and things of that nature because we still have to raise you to be a responsible human. But I'm finding that a little leniency in some areas is necessary during this time, because just like we can be on that spinning wheel, we can be in that circle, kids can too. The difference is we are aware of it. It's kind of like when a baby, like an infant, goes to daycare. That's one of the, like, for lack of a better word, it's one of the scariest moments for a parent, because if something happens to that infant, they can't come home and say what happened. As a toddler, we'll be able to say this happened and that happened. Well, that's how this situation is with kids. Like, they don't know what's going on with them if they're feeling like they need to reboot and reset. And so we got to do it for them. And so yesterday, I went home, and when I got in the house, it was quiet. It wasn't no TV on, no music going. And that moment was so refreshing. And so I'll suggest to you, my friends, that maybe, take a few minutes out of the day, maybe an hour or two, and just let it be quiet. I think it's healing in that. I think we should all incorporate that, especially for our children, because they don't even realize that they're watching video after video, and then we're wanting to teach them, but in some cases we're using more visuals to teach them, and we're not realizing that hours upon hours they're consuming, they're looking, but especially the children that don't take naps anymore, you need that time to shut it all down, man. So do that. All right. Now, this is the next thing I want to talk about. I was talking to my parents the other day, and we were just talking about like this whole stimulus situation. And I said that I felt like we wouldn't need a stimulus if the money that the government plans on giving individuals, if they gave them to institutions that make our life work. For example, if you know that I have to pay rent, make it to where landlords get access to monies that will keep me from having to pay rent for about 6 months. If you know that I have to pay mortgage, make it to where the mortgage companies or banks would get the equivalent of what my rent would be for 6 months. You understand what I'm saying? Or my mortgage would be for 6 months. But the reason they won't do that is because, and this is a lesson that we really all need to pay attention to, America doesn't care about you paying your bills. America cares that you continue to be a consumer. They depend on you blowing your money and spending your money on things that you don't need, because for the most part, that's what's going to happen when people get their stimulus checks. That's what's happened in the past when they got them. That's what happened when they got the extra unemployment. That's what's going to happen when they get this new stimulus. And here's the thing. Politicians know that. They know that. And I wish we as a people would come to a point where we understood that they are playing us like an instrument, and we allow them to. But anyway, I said I wasn't going to go there today. But the money would be better served for things like that. So with that being said, that leads me to this article that I want to read. Let's go. This is a Wall Street Journal article. It says rent collection is down and apartment owners feel the squeeze. The apartment business has weathered the COVID-19 pandemic better than most of the real estate sector. That is starting to change. Owners of multifamily buildings are falling behind on loan payments. Banks view a greater number of rental loans as high risk. And fewer lenders are available to help struggling developers with financing. Eviction projections, lower rent collections, and unprecedented declines in the asking rent in some urban markets are also taking their toll on apartment owners. Niche corners of the multifamily business that were popular with investors before the pandemic are now some of the worst off. Ratings companies have downgraded bonds tied to senior housing and student housing properties, and some co-living companies where tenants lease rooms in shared apartments are also struggling. Earlier this month, the co-living operator Quarters closed all of its U.S. operations, filing for 10 bankruptcies. But the traditional rental apartment business is showing cracks too. During the pandemic, the share of total apartment debt that banks place into their highest risk categories has ballooned to 16.9% from 4.6%, according to December report from the TREP LLC, a real estate data firm that compiled risk ratings from more than a dozen major banks. A lot of this was driven by people being in stress, said Russell Hughes, a vice president at TREP. Landlords requested payment leniency on their loans, and this was a major factor in banks raising their risk assessments, he added. Some large apartment owners, such as New York's Shetrick family, are feeling the squeeze. A $481 million securitized loan backed by 43 of the family's rental buildings across the Midwest and the Sun Belt was placed on an at-risk watch list by loans special servicer Key Bank. The bank cited the federal eviction moratorium and tenants not paying rent as reasons why building income wasn't sufficient to cover loan payments. Let me stop there. See, what we don't need necessarily is a moratorium. What they need is money. So instead of giving individuals money, give it to the banks. In exchange, you cannot evict anyone. In exchange, the owners don't lose their property. You understand what I'm saying? Like, does this make sense to anybody else? Now, the owner may take a little bit of a loss as it relates to profit. Because, 100% of the time when you're paying rent, the owner is making profit. Although they may be paying mortgage, they're charging you so much more than what they're paying in mortgage that they're making a profit. And so for a while, at least until the COVID is over, they may not make a profit, but at least they won't lose their property, and at least you won't get evicted. Let me read a little bit more of this. A representative of the family didn't respond to requests for comment. Developers of new apartment buildings look even more vulnerable right now, having to fill units when many renters left large cities to buy homes or find cheaper apartments. Some investors see an opportunity in giving these troubled builders short-term, high-cost financing to keep their operations afloat until the pandemic ends. Now, this is in my mind, and I don't think I'm the smartest person. I just think that I like to think that I think about things. Why is nobody thinking about, let's give the money to the banks and hold the banks accountable? Like, I don't understand. I don't need I need to know that I'm going to have a roof over my head more than I need your money. If that's the case, I don't need your money. If I had a roof over my head, I don't need your money. If I know that I'm not, and if I'm the homeowner or the apartment owner, if I know that I'm not going to lose my property, then I'll settle for how much it costs not to lose it. So that means that I may not be profitable, but I still have the asset. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. That's what makes it work for everybody. But instead of the Biden administration proposing those types of things, they're so busy worried about the LGBTQ community. And I said I wasn't going to talk about that no more. So I'll end here with this whole thing. Let's pray. That's really just what it's going to take. God, pray. All right, it's the time to laugh. Let's lighten it up a little bit. Let's laugh. I'll be back. It's the Mike Brown Morning Show. Good morning.
Wake up.
Right here.
The Mike Brown Morning Show.
Wake up, baby, when you wake up, hit it in the morning.
Heard weekdays 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Right here on the Urban Uplift.
You are tuned into the Urban Uplift.
Oh my God.
Always positive, always purposeful, always powerful.
Charlene First Lady still in there?
Yeah, she's still in there. Sitting there at that table, with that same old velvet two-piece outfit she wore every year.
The red one or the green one?
The green one, and it's shedding. And they're looking like the Christmas tree nobody wanted.
Okay.
Talking about, Charlene, oh, girl, you got to forgive me my sincerest apology. I truly did not know.
She didn't know what?
Not to put me in no group text. Now, you done created that fake page on Instagram and Facebook so you can follow me. And as much as I talk about don't send me no cyber invitations and don't put me in no group text, what she do? Done put me in a group text. And I know it was only two people that could have did it.
Who, girl?
It was going to be either you
Never.
or it was going to be her. And I know it was her. Now, she want to get upset and sit over there and pretend like she about to cry or she feeling numb in her feet and stuff like that so people can draw attention to her and stuff like that and take the attention off the subject. Now, you going to be upset when the only way you can communicate with me next year is to write me a letter.
Telegram.
You have to write me a letter. That's it.
So why she say she did it, Charlene?
First of all, she said she truly did not know. And then she said she wants to keep me abreast of what was going on. Yeah. And I'm like, a breast? I don't even like breasts. You know I'm a wing girl. Give me a leg or something like something simple.
I like a thigh myself.
Oh, no big piece of breast. And I'm saying, what I need you to keep me abreast? When have I never not known what was going on? My ears is to the street.
And you know I'm gonna tell you everything.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't need no extra communication with you. You the last one to know stuff. Last to know the fashion trends. Last to know the party invitations.
Last to know don't nobody like us.
Last to know everything.
Everything.
You can't keep me up on the latest when you the latest to know.
Ooh, talk about it.
And I'm blocking your number. I'm blocking her. Cause she put me in the group text.
Hug yourself.
She put me in the group text. She put me in the group text.
What you gonna do, Charlene?
Now I'm blocking your line.
I like that.
So take me out the groove, text.
Please and thank you.
Come on. Take me out the groove, text. Take me out the groove, text.
Come on.
Cause I'm blocking your line.
All right.
I said, all I asked you is one thing. I said, take me. Come on.
Out the groove, text.
I said,
Hey,
take me.
out the groove,
text.
text.
Not tomorrow, but
Take me out the groove,
text.
text.
Right now,
Take me
I like that groove.
out the groove, text.
Right now,
Take me
out the groove, text. To all these people.
Take me out the groove,
All these
text.
different notifications.
Take me
now.
Out the groove,
All this stuff I don't want to know about.
Take me out the groove, text.
All that
Take me out the groove, text.
Oh, take me.
Take me out the groove, text.
Right now.
Right now,
Right now.
right now,
Right now.
right now, right now.
I said, take me.
Take me out the groove, text.
I said, take me.
Take
yeah.
me out the groove, text.
Take me out the groove, text. Cause I'm blocking your line.
Yes,
Stop
sir.
disrespecting me.
Hey.
Now, that's funny to me for a lot of different reasons. But first of all, shout out to the Christy Show. Miss Charlene is hilarious. And so we shout you out here on the Mike Brown Morning Show. It's enough for all of us. So I don't mind shouting nobody out that adds to what we do. Jerome, y'all know that was my guy. He did not like being in no group text. And I could see him saying, hey, man, take me out of that group chat, man, that group text. I don't want to be in that, man. So it was hilarious to me. And, Miss Charlene represents somebody that's, she's supposed to be that age, around that age group. The baby boomers. They don't like stuff like that. It's hilarious to me. All right, it's the Mike Brown Morning Show, y'all. I got some more great music. And then we're going to come back. And we never talked about the Salt and Pepper movie. I want to talk about it. So when I come back, that's what we're going to talk about. I'll be back. Of course, that was Jonathan Nelson with Thank You, Lord. And I want you to know that thank you is always in order. Thank you is always appropriate. If you can't find the words to say, thank you always works. Okay, I told y'all before we get out of here, I wanted to kind of talk about Salt and Pepper movie. We hadn't talked about it all week. I want to say it came on either Friday or Saturday, but we wound up watching it. We taped it, so we wound up watching it. And you know what? That's pretty sweet too, because I think that they get the ratings for one when you DVR it or whatever it's called. I think they get the ratings. But what's so dope about it is, you don't have to watch commercials. And I don't know about y'all, but ever since Hulu came out with the no commercial plan, I have been spoiled. And I don't like commercials. And I already don't like watching TV that much. So it's tough for me to sit there and watch television. Now I do like Matlock, but that's another story. All right, so I liked the Salt and Pepper movie. If I had gone based off the reviews of people before if I had let the reviews of people determine whether or not I would have watched the film, I wouldn't have watched it. So I'm glad that I didn't go off of people's opinion, because I actually liked the film. I don't know what more people was expecting out of the film. I feel like I learned so much about Salt and Pepper. I feel like they dug deep into their stories. Now some have said that, Spinderella, they feel like she was left out and she should have been more a part of it. But even going and doing research on that, and just going and looking back at Salt and Pepper interviews like over the years, don't sound like Spinderella was done wrong. You know, she may be influenced by outsiders and things of that nature, but you know, you never when they were all together, you can never see discord. You know how sometimes in other groups you can see it, like, but we never saw. I mean, it never appeared that anything was wrong in terms of their relationship with Spinderella. But she did wind up suing them, I believe, and they winded up giving her, you know, she either sued them or they just voluntarily gave her money. Like, I don't think it was any ill will as to why she wasn't in the movie. But what Salt and Pepper did say, even as recent as an interview they did with the Breakfast Club about a week and a half ago, that, you know, Salt and Pepper was already a brand before Spinderella became involved, and they still took care of Spinderella as if she was a part of the group. So, you know, I don't know, but overall, I like the movie. And if you want to do something this weekend to chill out, you know, while you're unplugged, you should check it out. Not a bad movie. Salt was able to express. You can tell, you can tell that they had input in the movie, because if you go back and look at some of their interviews, like leading up to, like even before they knew they were going to get the movie done, about 5 years ago, they celebrated 30 years in the music industry, and so they knew that much time in the game was going to lead up to a movie. They probably didn't know all of the details, but the stories that they were telling in their interviews and things of that nature, they were in the movie. And so now we know that it was authentic because we heard them say these things. So I enjoyed it. You know, the Clark sisters then started something, it looked like, because now we got Salt and Pepper, and I think next week is going to be Wendy Williams. Who next? You know, Lifetime needed something other than those the predictable movies that they always had. But yeah, so it was a good movie. I thank you all for hanging out with us. Everybody that listens to us every day, I appreciate it. I see you. I see the love. I see the emails. I see the shout outs. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Tomorrow we're gonna get back to Rich Dad Poor Dad. I know we've been on a hiatus from it, but we're gonna get back to Rich Dad Poor Dad. So I want you to tune in, and if you hadn't been reading, we're gonna pick all back up together. So tune in tomorrow. I want you to have a wonderful, super fantastic, prosperous rest of your day. Claim your day. Tell your day what it's going to be, how it's going to be. I'll holler at you all tomorrow. Peace.
Wake up.
Right here. The Mike Brown Morning Show.
Wake up, baby, when you wake up, hit it in the morning.
Heard weekdays 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time, right here on the Urban Uplift.